Hi and welcome back. If you're new to the channel, my name is Vince. Thanks for stopping by. You're very welcome. So I've been taking NMN for just over a year now, and to a lesser degree, Berberine and Resveratrol. And I thought in today's video what I would do is list all the things I've learned, useful tips if you like, over the year of taking NMN. And it's the kind of video that if I could go back in time, I would want to show a 54-year-old me prior to me starting my NMN experiment. So let's take a look at what I would tell a 54-year-old me before embarking on his NMN experiment. So in this video, I'll cover what I would tell a 54-year-old me, having now the benefit of taking NMN and other substances as a daily supplement. So let's look at the things I would change if I could start this from scratch again. So the first thing would be to see a doctor or a health practitioner. Now I know this is not going to be easy. Lots of them don't know about things like low carb, high fat, let alone things like NMN or resveratrol. They still say things like LDL is your bad cholesterol, with no idea what VLDL is. So seek out one if you can that's open to what you're going to be doing with regard to supplementing with NMN, resveratrol, etc. So my dosage, would I have gone up to 1 gram a day quicker? Yes, but I only know that now because I did it slowly to begin with. There is no official dosage protocol as such at the moment, so we are all still guessing. Hindsight is a great thing, and of course it may be different for you when you start to take it. So start small and work up at a pace that you, but more importantly your body, is happy with. Blood tests. As a baseline, I would say get as many markers checked as you can afford. And you know this isn't a bad thing to do anyway. I waited until I was increasing my dose to 1 gram a day before I started to take regular blood tests. If I was starting again in a few months' time, I would take my blood test before day 1. So other things I would change if I was starting again. I would make sure I have a reliable way to check my biometric markers. So if you can, I would buy a quality scale. My first gym almost doubling their prices overnight, and the virus shutting down my second gym, and in fact all other exercise facilities in the area, wasn't something I could have, or anyone could have envisaged at the start of my NMN experiment. If you can afford it, then possibly have a DEXA scan. This is seen as the most effective way to measure your biometric markers, although be aware that you will be exposed to very minor levels of radiation during this procedure. Find out your biological or epigenetic age. Use an epigenetic age DNA marker test where they will draw either blood or saliva. And the company that you choose, if they want blood, will tell you blood is the most effective and efficient way to do it, the most accurate way. And if it's a company that offers saliva, they will tell you that it doesn't really matter. That's something you're going to have to decide for yourself. Biometric scales will measure your biological age, but they use BMI as part of the formula to estimate your biological age. And as you may know, if you watch the channel, I don't hold any store in the antiquated formula that is BMI. TMG, trimethylglycine. I would have taken TMG with my NMN from the start. Although it's not proven, methylation or depleting our methyl groups is something that we need to avoid, and TMG would help us do this. So something else I definitely would have changed would have been adding resveratrol to the mix. I would have added equal amounts of resveratrol as I upped my dose of NMN. So maybe after 1 month, when I was happy that the NMN was giving me no side effects, I would have added resveratrol. And it could have looked something like this. Day 1, 125 milligrams of NMN, and the asterisk denotes at least an equal amount of TMG. 30 days later, with no side effects from the NMN, I would have added 125 milligrams of resveratrol. 30 days after that, up the NMN to 250 milligrams a day and the TMG too. And when that was all good, 30 days later, up my resveratrol to 250 milligrams also. I would have only gone up in dosage if I was happy that there were no side effects from either taking the NMN or taking the resveratrol. So another thing I would have changed would have been to have done a little bit more research on a number of different things. This would have made my journey a little less fraught, but then as they say, you don't know what you don't know. The first thing I definitely would have done more research on is TMG. I'd been taking NMN for a few months before luckily people in the comment section alerted me to the issue of methylation and the need to take TMG. So as I mentioned earlier, I would have started taking TMG at the same time as I started to take NMN had I known. On a slightly separate issue to do with TMG, DoNotAge.org have now started to carry TMG, and I did say I'd let you know as and when more products and services come online. This is a product, and there are services which will be made available soon, and I will let you know about those services as and when they do come online. But as for now, you can buy TMG. 60 500 milligram capsules of TMG will cost you £15 sterling, which is about $19. And again, if you use the discount code MyNMN, then you'll get an extra 10% off that too. The next thing is resveratrol, and particular trans resveratrol. It wasn't until again someone mentioned in the comment section, and then David Sinclair confirmed this during an interview, that it must be trans and not cis resveratrol that you need to be taking. Unfortunately, I took cis resveratrol for a few months before I knew this fact. Now this will definitely, I think, have affected my results, but to what extent I don't think I will ever know. The next thing is my Berberine dose. So purely by luck, I started to take 1 gram of Berberine in lieu of 1 gram of metformin, as David Sinclair does. Before I found out, again, thankfully from a subscriber or someone that comments in the comment section, that 1 gram of Berberine is roughly equal to 1 gram of metformin. And this information he gleaned from Volta Longo. Another one is suppliers. So to date, I've now taken NMN from 4 different suppliers. And as you know, the latest one is DoNotAge.org. I think you need to research suppliers, ones that you're going to trust. And I would narrow that down to possibly 2. So if one can't supply you when your supply runs out, then you can turn to the second. We cover what things to look for in an NMN supplier. But if it's an emergency and you need to go with one because your current suppliers run out and your supplier of choice can't supply it, then you're looking for third-party test certificates that are posted on the website and not that they will send you when they send you the product. Also, that the third-party test certificate is an analysis lab that's been selected by the reseller. So like DoNotAge.org or Alive by Nature, they've chosen microquality labs. I wouldn't accept a certificate of assay or purity from a test laboratory which have been selected by the seller in China. So a seller in China choosing another laboratory in China to prove their certificate of assay to me is not acceptable. Another thing is, can the supplier ship NMN and other products that you're deciding to take to your country? This was a big one for me. As you know, I've mentioned before, I would quite often get to the checkout part of ordering before I got the message that unfortunately this supplier doesn't send to your region or to your country. And again, this is extremely frustrating. Now let's look at some tips that you may want to think about if you're going to be starting your own NMN experiment. So the first thing that I would recommend is you record as much data as possible. As I did, record things that you think may be affected by taking NMN as a daily supplement. Not only think about them, but actually record them. You do need to write them down. Things such as sleep, exercise, and hunger. Also record things such as headaches and upset stomachs, but you do physically need to record it. Also, record whether or not they didn't happen, because 6 months, a year down the line, you won't know what did or didn't happen when you upped your dosage or added another supplement to your protocol. Another thing people tend to do is they'll start to take NMN and it'll be the catalyst for another large life change. I would try to avoid this. So, for example, don't take NMN and go onto the carnivore diet. Don't take NMN and become a vegan. Don't take NMN and start exercising more regularly. And don't take NMN as part of giving up sugar or processed foods. I was glad that I was happy with my diet and exercise regime, because I think big changes in either of these may have altered my stats by doing, say, extra exercise or by changing my fasting regime. These may well have shown non-NMN triggered changes, and in some cases may have misled me because they may have also looked like improvements. Be aware of potential side effects, things such as sleep issues, upset stomach, excess energy, and mitigate for these. So if it's going to be excess energy you get, then possibly don't take NMN in the afternoon or before you go to bed. Try to push that to first thing in the morning. Also be aware that these things do happen and may happen, and it's not necessarily a cause for alarm. If they are, however, quite fundamental or stark changes, then again you may need to go back and speak to a health practitioner or to a doctor. So up until now in the video, I think most of the stuff we've spoken about I've covered before somewhere in some detail or not on different videos that are posted throughout the year. And if I haven't mentioned it on the video, it will have been discussed somewhere in the comment section. And that's one of the reasons I urge you to always read the comments in the comment section, because there are some pretty clever people that make some very, very interesting statements. Also leave some very useful links in the comment section. So this is information that I've gleaned over the last year that I'm pretty sure now is correct, but I don't think I've ever mentioned in any detail on one of my videos. So I think this is possibly the time to do it. So let's discuss pharmaceutical grade and food grade NMN. So first of all, there are no grades. There is no food grade, there is no pharmaceutical grade, and there is no veterinary grade. There is just NMN. These grade labels are unofficial and do not meet any standard. They've been made up by the NMN supplement companies. So every supplement, if you like, will have a CAS, a Chemical Abstract Service Number. If you go to the website that you can see at the top there, and you type in the number 1094-61-7, you will get all the information about NMN. And I was told by F5X, who commented and gave me this information, that in his opinion, or her opinion, if there was another version of NMN, it would have a separate number. So I'm not sure about that. If you know whether or not that is true, then let me know in the comments below. So the next thing is purity. The purity is the percentage of the desired material which is actually in the sample. It is not a standard. There is no standard that allows a company to call its NMN pure, ultra pure, mega pure, etc. These are labels made up by supplement companies mainly to entice you, to make it look like their product is better than someone else's. In some cases, it's there to mislead you, but obviously all of it's done within the law. If it wasn't done within the law, then they would probably be investigated by the FDA. So the decision is up to you. Are you happy with 95% purity, or must you have 99% plus purity? Pharmaceutical grade, food grade, pure, super pure, ultra pure, mega pure are just labels. You must ignore them. Look at the percentage number. That's what counts. So what's the difference between 99.5 and 95.5? Will that extra 4% that the NMN company will make you pay for actually make a difference at your molecular level? Who knows? I don't know. David Sinclair doesn't know for sure. The NMN companies certainly don't know. If you ask them, they'll probably tell you there's strong evidence that say it could or it may, and they will tell you that it's probably better to take purer NMN than to take one that's less pure. But they don't know. Nobody knows. The NMN companies don't know, and they probably don't care. They just want your orders and they just want your money, which is fine. They're in business to make money. But you as a consumer need to know what you're paying for. Don't pay because it says pure, ultra pure or mega pure. Pay the money because of the percentage purity level that is claimed in a third-party test certificate from a third-party lab that has been chosen by the reseller and not by the manufacturing or the selling company, usually in China. So really, it's all down to cost. What can you afford? And it's to do with the purity level and what purity level you believe will have the most effect. If you can afford it and you think 99.5% pure is the best, then that's what you should go for. But don't make allowances or break the bank because you really need to get ultra pure NMN, when actually if you can afford NMN that's 95% pure, that will be, or that could be, enough for you. So that's all I've got to say on pharma grade and food grade. There is no grade. It's all to do with the purity level. You pay for the percentage purity level that's been proven by a third-party testing facility.
So I hope that was helpful. And if you're thinking about, or you've just started your own NMN journey or own NMN experiment, then I hope that these pointers or these tips that I've made in the video will stand you in good stead for your NMN journey. Also, please let me know in the comments below if you're going to start your journey, whether or not you'll use Do Not Age's products, and also whether or not you'll use the 10% discount code. It'd be nice to see if people are actually using that. I'd also like to take this video to thank those people that take the time to comment in the videos and to leave positive remarks and links to other useful websites where information about longevity, NMN, Resveratrol, etc. Can be gleaned. There are obviously going to be a few idiots that leave vacuous and futile comments. Ignore those people. I believe that in the main, the majority of people that comment on the videos are doing it for the good and benefit of everyone that comes and looks at the video. So thank you very much indeed for all of you that have made this place a place to come and gather information about NMN, Resveratrol and Berberine, and other supplements as my longevity experiment continues. That's it for now. Thanks very much indeed for watching. Take care of yourselves. I'll see you soon. Bye for now.